In dark is Stella from Ontario, in particular Ottawa, and in white, Fusion from Manitoba, in particular Winnipeg. Fusion will be receiving the disc, and Stella will be pulling to start the first half. Now, there is a second game here. Originally, it was supposed to be Traffic versus Iris, but I'm hearing a rumor that it could be Traffic versus Fusion. So I will confirm that during one of the breaks to find out what the next game on this field is going to be and how that came to be. This game, 70 minutes long. It's the last in the pool, I believe. And game to 13. I am watching live chat as well, so I will try and answer your particular questions. And there's the horn to start the game. As mentioned, Fusion and white going into a horizontal stack. And Wynn going from left to right. Caitlin Cho dumps it to number 11, Carmen Lee Chochinov. Sends it up line and a little bit underthrown. D by number 12, Annika Nadinger. And a poach D right in the middle. Easily taken by Jolie, who is one of the captains of this Fusion team. Jolie Valencerina. And coming on the under, picked up immediately. Looking for a deep throw option. Sam Green puts it deep. And Fusion, couple of good unders. Valencerina dumps. That's a good matchup to watch right there. Green versus Valencerina. That's two extremely experienced players. Stack being moved back, motion back, but still no motion. Wide open break. And floated out. And multiple defenders from Stella under the disc. Going to a very wide ISO stack, it looks like. ISO horizontal. We've got Wardle here on the close side as Green brings it to the line. Lots of room in this horizontal. Creating field space for the cutter. Lee Chochinov looking deep, sends it deep. Burridge under it. Not in called by the observer, who is making active line calls. And Valencerina makes that one count. That is a big play, big point to start off. To start off the point, turnovers going both ways. Both teams taking big shots. I think we're off to an exciting start. Thank you for the chat explaining the rules. If you're a first-time viewer, Ultimate, you have the disc. If it hits the ground, it's a turnover. You cannot pull the disc out of someone's hand. You must stop running when you catch it quickly, and you have to try and get rid of it within about 10 seconds, which is usually called by a mark or an opposition player that's within 3 meters. Fusion to pull. Karen Hatch has played for 8 years on this team, primarily handling and anchoring the D-line this year. Assistant coach for our World Juniors Under-20 women's team next year, alongside Danny Proby, who plays on traffic. Michaud. A great motion and movement. Point by number 28, Brittany Cook. And Stella making quick work of that point, using the space to move it out there. This Stella team here from Ottawa. We saw the Phoenix team playing earlier on this field. And Ultimate being a community sport, one of the players, Munoz, had dedicated the game to his son, Kobe. The Stella team is dedicating this game as well to their teammate, Jessica Stockberger, for Kobe as well. Unfortunately, Kobe passed away a month or so ago, or perhaps more. And this team is providing support, as is the community, as best as we can. But both players and teams playing for quite a bit. Stella now on defense. Will be pulling. Familiar face just on the sideline there to the right is Tim Ambry, who was commentating last week and doing camera work for the Masters. Valencerina sends it deep to Caitlin Cho. And that point two from Fusion, pretty clean. Rookie year for Caitlin Cho on this team, where Valencerina apparently has the highest vert in the whole team and has been playing for 5 years, primarily a cutter. And striker sometimes. And for those watchers and viewers, points are scored by catching in the end zone. Game, a little bit of a hybrid between a few different sports, and that's because of the time it started. Most attribute the first game of Ultimate to 1969, starting in New Jersey in a parking lot. However, research and history shows that the first game likely was actually played in 1967 at a summer camp, at least with rules that resemble the modern game of Ultimate. People have been playing Frisbee football for quite a while before then. But Ultimate as it stands. Got its name, it seems like, in 67. Ryu with the disc, played last weekend and won gold at the Masters division with Stella. Crowded. Zhao. Back to Ryu. And heads up defense by Karen Hatch. As Fusion team just sending it out there. Back to Hatch. Sending it out again. This is being chased. And a break by Avery Sims. And Fusion take the lead 3-1. Now I say the lead because they've gotten a break. It's an important point there. And Stella now must deliver on O. As Caitlin Fowler for Stella calls the line. Stella coached by Tim Ambry, Ken Alexander, and Caitlin Fowler. Caitlin doing the line calls. That Alexander name sounds familiar. Should be, because the Alexander brothers played together here in Ottawa on Phoenix and are well known and well regarded as amongst the best players of their era. Fusion bringing a fairly large roster to this tournament, and as one of Canada's top women's programs, has always performed well, and in this game right now is having an outstanding start. Green. Green again. Also played last weekend. And lay out deep by number 49, Karen Hatch. Immediately picks it up and sends it deep and connects. And Fusion, another break by Koji Kogan. And that's their first year on the team for Koji. And I will make sure I get that pronunciation, spelled C-O-G-I. But primarily a handler, comes up. Fusion now 2 breaks, 4-1. And for the chat, we're going to talk a little bit more about the game, but right now, Stella taking a timeout to focus, bring themselves back into this game. It's extremely important given the differential that they're in. All right, is there any truth? I think there's a little bit of trolling going on in the chat. But we'll be right back after this timeout. Having consulted with the sideline and some of the chaperones and parents, that goal was scored by number 18, Kogi. Primarily a handler. This is their first year on the team. And an exciting and impressive start. Now, if you're tuning in for the next game as well, are you going to stay there's a rumor that Fusion is playing Traffic on this field for the next game. We'll find out how it'll shape up in the next 60 minutes or so. Hatch to pull again. So a question about, is there a place to see the rosters in the chat? And we've been collecting the rosters. And we'll see if it gets produced or is publicized. Ryu to bring the disc to the middle. Dominic Ryu, 10 years on this team as a zone defense. And it's this diamond-shaped zone, which is a wall, and then a bail coverage. Stella moving it through well. And lasers into the end zone to number 17, Kaylee Sparks. And Stella make that point. All right, a question, why would be Traffic instead of Iris? So our schedule initially was based on if the teams had held seed in the pool, if the pools had played out as expected. But there was a change last night to how the schedules were done, and so we anticipated Traffic versus Iris if all the seeds held, because we wanted to put something out onto our social media. However, seeds may not have held. This is a big D-line for Stella. They need this turn. Currently down 2 breaks. Disc goes out of bounds. Lee Chochinov bring the disc up. I said it correctly earlier. ISO stack. Interesting to see the handler go deep. And Joey sends that deep. And that's a perfect over-the-shoulder throw to Emily Forrest, who's the spirit captain on this team in her 9th year. Fusion. Quick point. So from a streaming perspective, we will find out what the schedule is shortly, and we will know who's actually playing here. Please stay tuned. Fusion now 2 points away from half. And a potentially important win. And Hatch once again with a pole. And it goes out of bounds. They've been having a lot of difficulty in these last few polls. Both teams have sent it to almost that exact same spot. And the wind is coming from left to right, from this side of the screen and out to Ryu. Match defense, wide open player in the end zone. There was a bit of a transition confusion there. And that's the second point in a row. Or sorry, that's Megan. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong roster. Kaylee Sparks, who we have mentioned before, scoring that point. So Stella's offensive line now rolling along efficiently, as has Fusion. For those that are watching from home, just from a history perspective, the second player from the right, Samantha Green, has played on this team for quite some while, has played on multiple Team Canadas, won multiple championships indoors, gone to Worlds, has medaled at the Worlds level as well. Played on Stella last week and is still one of the best players in Canada, despite what feels now decades of experience. Has maintained fitness. Her partner, Colin Green, plays, or previously has played on Phoenix, but then played on Still last week. As a zone from Stella now transitions into match. And one player isolated, one handler, Amy Lamb now. And close to the end zone, reset back to Lamb and bobbled out of the hands, unfortunately. Sometimes those shorter passes are just a bit unstable. Green with the disc. And giant D by Jolie. Valencerina, as mentioned previously, that was a matchup we saw in the first point. And a full out D by number 22, Sam Burridge. But that's a point. I believe the observer was just making sure they maintained control or was just checking on the condition of the player. Either way, that's a big point. Fusion 6, Stella 3. So Fusion maintains offense despite an opportunity for Stella to break. For those who are looking up scores online, due to conditions, medical conditions you might be aware of, maybe a small global event, there aren't the same scorekeepers on the sideline that typically are present at a nationals event. Teams are being requested to submit the scores by themselves, and sometimes they may be delayed in submitting scores. And sometimes the tournament organizers, Ultimate Canada in this case, have to go out and actually get that score. Hatch with a pull, making it a roller this time. Ryu to pick up. Looking for a deep strike. Cut across the field from Alicia Zhao. Ballantyne moves it upfield. And not in called. And very crowded. A hammer to Ryu. And that's a point for Stella. Quick point at that. So 6-4. At the present, weather conditions here fairly dry. Wind gusting a little bit though. Fusion, if their offense holds and they score this point, will take half 7-4. And we'll have a chance to extend it to 8-4 following half. It's been a quick 25 minutes. The pace of this game has been high. Green to pull. To be match defense with a vert stack. And then Serena swings it to the middle. Lee Chochinov, who sends it deep to number 22, Sam Burridge, aka Bambi, who is the sideline manager, and Fusion take half 7-4. And that's a big score differential going into half with games to 13. We're going to take a break for a few minutes. Halftime lasts 5 minutes, but we'll, of course, come back early and provide you any sort of update I can on the score side. All right. We're coming back into the second half shortly. Having consulted with Ultimate Canada, the next game is supposed to be Traffic versus Iris. So we do anticipate an exciting second half as well to this game, followed by a very exciting matchup after that. Right, Stella to receive the disc for the second half. Hatch to pull the disc once again as we look to get the second half underway. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Really do appreciate the support. As Hatch sends a big pull, this one lands a little bit out of bounds. The same spot as Ryu. Sorry, that's not Ryu. That is, as soon as my eyes focus on the number, I will be able to tell you. Michaud. And there is potentially a call, but not. Might have been a stall as Hatch picks up the disc. And Fusion, with that stifling defense, now gets the chance with that line to try out the O side of it. Jacobson. Hatch. Jacobson again. Aitken sends it deep. And Deed right into the arms of the Fusion player, number 14, Amy Lamb. She's been a D-line cutter for years and was in the right spot at the right time. Always go to the discs, they say. Try and get under it. And Fusion start the half with a break, 8-4. And Stella's offense having a little bit of a difficult time getting started in the second half. Late cutting and reset cuts. Hatch going to be pulling again. Green. Just in and out of hands of the receiver. And then Michaud coming back to make the D. Green directing traffic to create space. Ring with the disc. Resets to Green. Green taking over this offense. There is a call. There's a stall down call here with Ring. It'll be coming back in once they have a discussion. Don't believe there was any observer that was close enough to actually provide input. So it'll be coming in on 8. Back to Green. Floating it. High stall can't reset again. Fusion bringing a lot of great defensive pressure. Back into the confident hands of Green. Michaud watching, giving it to Green, up line. And the handlers move it up most of the field on Stella between Green and Michaud to make it 5-8. Stella getting a little bit of pep. Green staying out. Lee Chochinov. Wong back to Lee Chochinov. Valencerina. This zone defense from Stella shutting down some options, but the side mid coming in a bit too far. Opens it up and the melt. Valencerina again. Lee Chochinov. You can hear the wind picking up. A big huck battle underneath. Recovered by Wardell. Back to Green. And Valencerina with the D. Foul, no contest. It stays with Miller. Miller. And Laura Brenneman with a quick flick. And Stella break to make it 8-6. I believe there's a timeout call by Fusion. Both teams making adjustments. Stella having made some adjustments coming out of half. Fusion now needing to do the same in order to make sure that they convert. And a very similar looking line to the last, heading back out to get the D for Stella. Fusion trying to ensure that doesn't happen. Assisted a little bit as Lochochinov picks up the disc and brings it almost to midfield. And there is a zone. With Keenan marking. Valencerina. Amy Lamb. Lochochinov. Valencerina. They're just moving it back and forth right now. Trying to create some opportunities. The mid in the stack, or in the D, is going to be extremely important. And they've melted. Playing match. Cho swings to Lamb. Jacobson. Back to Lochochinov. And a little bit of traffic, but Cho takes it confidently to Lamb. Running a vertical stack here. Looks like cuts coming from the back. Oh, that one the front. And just a little beyond. And Keenan creates that turn opportunity as Green comes to move it, wipes the disc down, has a few deep strikes. After a bobble, the recovery. And Stella with another break, make it 7-8. Thank you to the chat for helping with my pronunciations. The diversity we have here in Canada ensures that almost every single game, there's a last name that I have no idea how to pronounce. Well, I'll take a best effort at it. And the rain has started up here again, and as we know, that can be a great equalizer. It can change things up. Not to say these two teams aren't equal. The scoreline certainly seems to indicate that. As a different D-line goes out for Stella. Into a vertical stack as Valencerina faces off against that zone. Chodunov. And needing assistance in. And Valencerina sends it back. It's getting offline, but that mid for Stella finds the opportunity there to Jacobson. And right into a melt. And sending it to Valencerina. And a collision, no call, D by Kaylee Sparks. And bounces out of the hands of Michaud. That is uncharacteristic. Carmen picks up the disc. Looking for that chance to Jacobson, and Jacobson makes it 9-7 for Fusion. And Carmen Lee Chodunov, a longtime veteran and a new captain addition this year, has been helming this offense down the field and putting in the time. Carmen had a wedding in August 2020 at a fishing lodge, so COVID wedding, and is married to number 33, Alan Chochinov, who's been on this team for 9 years. So plenty of veteran experience. Hatch to pull. Jacobson back on after just having played that point and scored that point for pressure defense. Sounds like there's going to be a zone just in terms of the positioning that Hatch was indicating to the team. But of course, the count from the line indicates that it could be match as well. Ryu centers it to Green. And it is match. Green is looking for the deep shot. Ryu. His backhand force. And just sends it and floats it out. Hatch coming down with it. Sending it deep to Jacobson. Just out of reach. It's just curved at the end as Green now. And Joffrey lays out to keep possession. Back to Green. Looking for upfield options. And goes to Sparks and just a little bit too high. Gust of wind at that time, perhaps. As Hatch walks it back to the sideline. for the vert stack and a collision. Foul call and Green not contesting it. Just a little bit delayed on that bid. Hatch sends it deep. And caught by Avery Sims, who's in her second year on this team. And Fusion. Break. So the break Stella got early in this half had been clawed back by Fusion. And the momentum swings yet again. 50 minutes into this game, 20 minutes remaining. The score 10-7. One last game after this one. And it looks to be Traffic versus Iris. Excited to see that matchup. Hatch to pull. Big pull. And it goes out of bounds, just a little bit past midfield. There was a pull earlier which had been a bit more of an OI that had rolled. Green cutting across the field. Hatch versus Green. That's a great matchup as well. And the calls for swing from the sideline are answered, and Stella make it 8. Our schedule for tomorrow has 5 back-to-back games. We are anticipating that Theo Wan will be joining the commentary booth. And we'll be able to get a few other players. We may yet get an assistant commentator or primary commentator for the final game today. But we'll leave that as a surprise for the viewers. This D-line for Stella at an important point in the game with about 15 minutes to go. Needs to deliver. Nadinger with the pull. Centers it to Lee Chochitnov. Back to Chotnov. I think I'm getting the pronunciation now. Valencerina. Immediately looking deep as well. You can just see, her gaze. Lamb back to Chotinov. And Burridge. Burridge to Cho for the fusion point, 11-8. Within knocking distance of that 13 to take the game. And with under 15 minutes left to play, we're coming up to the exciting conclusion. Don't count Stella out just yet. Received some sideline assistance from Dean Wright, who is a chaperone for player Miley Wright, that it's Chachinov, and that I better get it right. A roller. Michaud picks it up to Ryu. He's looking for Zhao in the middle. He's now looking to... Zhao sends it to Sparks, who chases it down. And that was quick work. Aside from the early pressure from Fusion, which that was close at the beginning. That was a high stall count. Another pronunciation check. It was Millie Wright, who has been playing this tournament and is the youngest player on this Fusion team. And with the way that they're playing, we're likely to see them tomorrow at some point. Stella going on defense. Nadinger to pull. And it floats to about the brick. Chodnov swings it to Wong. And that zone looking to put pressure. And an upline switch. And right into the defender. Stella need to get a reset. Nadinger looking upfield. High stall count. There's a call. But there's a stoppage. Amelia Keenan holds on to it right now. Keenan had the responsibility of marking in that zone. There's a discussion in the midfield, or there was it'll come back. And floaty into the end zone. And brought down by Rachel. Probably the shortest player in that cluster, would show you how everyone went vertical. And box jumps help in the off season. Stella break, make it 10-11 with 9 minutes left to play. Line call from Fusion, complete. Strong offensive setup. And the rain starting up again. Less of a mist and more drops. It has been misting pretty much the whole day. Okay, looks like it's probably going to be a zone again. It has been paying off for Stella. Chodunov. Burridge. That same sort of sideline trap and floaty over the top. Sends it deep. And there's a foul call. There's a touch on the disc as it was thrown. And it's not contested. It'll come back to 0. And going into match, actually staying in. Still contained. And they are now immediately into match. Fusion being extra sure of their throws so far. Maybe even hanging on to it for an extra second or two. Oh, and then just a breakthrow into the center of the stack. Enough separation for Fusion to make it 12-10. That was a high stall count throw as Carmen is comforted by her teammates. Or perhaps congratulated, but Stella, offense, heading out onto the pitch. And needing to score this one. They've certainly brought the game back. It's been interesting weather here today. The temperature has fallen. It's much colder. Players were mentioning that, Red Flag was mentioning when they were on the Field 7 game, it was quite humid. And then once they moved to Field 1, it cooled down substantially. Hatch with the pole. And it's landing out of bounds. Fusion seems to be comfortable taking those those brick setups. Ryu with the disc. We'll be bringing it in just a few seconds and getting this point underway. Jacobson marking and in match defense. Ring puts it deep. And Avery Sims with the D as Hatch looks for cutters out of the vertical stack. And dropped just outside the end zone. This is an ideal position for Stella to set up. And this got their end zone play. As Michaud tiptoes it in to the end zone. Stella 11, Fusion 12. Game point. If Stella gets the break here, we go to Universe. If Fusion get this point here, that will be game. I hope you've all enjoyed watching this game so far. Please let me know if there's been any issues, either in the chat or message me directly. So as per the best information that I have from about 25 minutes ago, next game will be Traffic versus Iris. We're likely to see the zone again. Big floating pole. Let's the D get down there, and Keenan on the mark once again. They're just trying to get it to the sideline. Lamb. Fusion keeping it in the middle. Lamb again. Burridge. Lamb again. Jacobson. And it's Melt. So right into match. And throwing it deep. And a turn. It's a bit too high. Green picking it up and taking the time to wipe it before getting the line. Sends it deep right away. Just a little bit beyond Lauren Ballantyne. Lee Chotinov. And that's Irina to Jacobson. Has a deep option. Burge. Floats it out. And then Serena out jumps everyone. Win. Unfortunately, timeout called. And to pick up will be Nadinger after the timeout. All right, the horn has gone. So where it stands is Stella needs this point to take it to Universe. If Fusion score, that is game. Nadinger to pick it up after they set up. Going into a horizontal. Fusion setting up on D. Jacobson to tap it in. Green to Brenneman, who likes to huck, as we saw earlier. Wardell just grabs onto it. Ballantyne with the impressive layout and then into traffic. And that's a turn, just a little bit beyond Jolie's reach. To Green. Green looking for the options. Has Keenan. And disc perhaps a little bit slippery. Doesn't sail as far as Keenan would like. And Nadinger does not get the play on that. Valencerina sends it deep, but Sam Green reads it well. Stella bringing it back. Keenan. Ballantyne. Wardell looking for options. Gives it to Keenan. To Alora in the end zone. And this marathon of a point and game is 12-12 and is going to Universe. What a game. Two incredible teams. Now coming down to 1 point. Fusion on offense. Stella to pull. And for those lucky viewers, you're going to get another matchup in 15 minutes. The traffic in Iris. And a timeout called, which is available immediately, I believe, in point cap, which is what we're in. The instant the horn went and the next point started, which happened when this was scored, I believe additional timeouts became available. Looks like pretty much the same D-line is going out there. Perhaps a switch up of one or two players. With Ring coming in. Nadinger with the pole. Lee Chotinov. Hatch. And that zone from Stella back on. That has paid dividends. Serena has come back as well into the handler position. Hatch, the anchor handler on this team. And makes quick work. And Fusion win this game 13-12. And great game by both teams. Stella coming back after a substantial deficit. Fusion leading the whole way and showing confidence from the first point onwards. Definitely showing their depth. And Stella as well, showing that they can come back. Plenty of tournaments still left. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you stay on the stream in another 10 minutes, we're going to start the next women's game. Thank you all for joining on this one.